So, I have just started this background music so that it's not too lonely while talking, so that I have a little background music and so that it's not too boring while I'm talking. So, today's episode is only going to be dedicated to one book. I have just opened this one, so we're going to check this side for that. Michael Scott, The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel, 6 books collection. This is a very great series of books, and we are going to talk about this book in detail. I'm not going to always have the things ready that I want to talk about, so we are going to start off with googling it, Secrets of Nicholas Flamel series. And if I'm able to, I would like to go for the Wikipedia of this book. Wiki. I guess I'm going to check the wiki fandom. And well, not yet. I have to check it. Okay, it seems okay. So, welcome to the Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel wiki. And yeah, welcome to the Secrets. Good to have you here. They literally... Okay, I think I have to click on the books. The Alchemist is the first one, I think. The Alchemist is a 27 novel by Irish author Michael Scott. The first part in the 6-book series The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel. Scott draws on a wide knowledge of world mythology to stage a battle between the Dark Elders and their hired gun, Dr. John Dee, against the forces of good, which series is divided into parts with the Alchemist, the Magician, and the Sorceress, making up the first codex, and the Necromancer, the Warlock, and Enchantress, making up the second codex. Well, I can't move the screen anymore, which is weird. Okay. So, the blur, the truth. Nicholas Flamel's tomb is empty, the legend Nicholas Flamel lives. Nicholas Flamel is the greatest alchemist to ever live. The records show that he died in 1418, but what if he's actually been making the elixir of life for centuries? The secrets to eternal life are hidden within the book he protects, the Book of Abraham the Mage. It is the most powerful book that has ever existed, and in the wrong hands, it will destroy the world. And that is exactly what Dr. John Dee plans to do when he steals it. There is one hope. If a prophecy is true, Sophie and Josh Newman have the power to save everyone. Now they just have to learn it. Important things. First of all, I don't like the fact that Dr. John Dee has this generic description. Yes, it is his goal, and I don't like that. The important part about Dr. John Dee to make the story worth it is a little bit of how he conducts himself in the story and how he interacts with some of the twins, two twins, Sophie and Josh. That's quite important. The second important thing is the way Nicholas Flamel is introduced into the story. Plot summary. Maybe we're going to read this plot summary too while we're at it. When the necromancer and immortal magician Dr. John Dee steals the ancient book, the Codex, from its keeper, Nicholas Flamel, 2 teenagers named Sophie and Josh Newman are caught up in the danger and magic. Dee also captures Nicholas Flamel's wife, Perenelle, but Josh manages to snatch the last 2 pages of the Codex before Dee leaves. These pages turn out to be the most important too, and Flamel realizes that he must train the twins as they arm from the prophecy which tells that they will save the world. Flamel takes the twins to a magical warrior and next generation elder named Skathash, also known as Sketty, who travels with them to another elder's shadow realm. They believe that this elder can awaken the twins, which is the first step in training them. This elder is known as Hecate and has remarkable magical power. This is not the whole truth. I'm going to go on to this page. Life was interweaved with the ancient Jersey lift tree. I don't completely agree with all this. Okay, well, okay. I have to. There's some things that I'm not completely sure about, which are told in this story. So I have to Google the name Hecate. Hecate. Okay, that's the one that I wanted to search. Goddess of. Okay. Whoop. Hecate or Hecate is a goddess in ancient Greek religion and mythology, most often shown holding a pair of torches, a key, snakes, or accompanied by dogs, and in later periods depicted in triple form. She is variously associated with crossroads, entranceways, nightlight, magic, witchcraft, knowledge of herbs and poisonous plants, ghosts, necromancy, and sorcery. That's the important thing about this. It's not just that there is some elder whose name is Hecate. The background between a lot of the characters in this story is mythology. And it's not only Greek mythology. I have to Google another name. This one. You can't see it yet. There's another big name which is important for this story. Whoop. Bastet. Bastet or Bast in ancient Egyptian was a goddess of ancient Egyptian religion, worshipped as early as the 2nd dynasty, 2890 before Christ. Her name also is rendered as Bast, Ubaste, and Basset. In ancient Greek religion, she was known as Ailuros, cat. Bastet was worshipped in Bubastis in Lower Egypt, originally as a lioness goddess, a role shared by other deities such as Sekhmet. Eventually, Bastet and Sekhmet were characterized as two aspects of the same goddess, with Sekhmet representing the powerful warrior and protector aspect of Bastet, who increasingly was depicted as a cat representing a gentler aspect. That's also another important point about the story. There are a lot of different religions. There are a lot of different mythology, and here, a religion is not wrong. Ancient religion, maybe, depicted in this novel. Greek, Roman, there is Egyptian, which we just read. Nordic, I think too. I have to be careful with what I say. Yes, Nordic too. And the thing that makes this story, the Secrets of Nicholas Flamel, so interesting is the utilization of this. He or the author uses those characters and their mythology to increase the story with different ways. For example, there is a story about Osiris. Wait a second, I have to be careful that I don't mix things up. I have read another book and another novel which is very similar to this one, so I don't want to mix those two up. Okay, that is what I thought. Then I'm going to Google it again. I can't really. I have to be careful because this book and Kane Chronicles, which is another really good book from Rick Rodden, I think, are two very good, very well written books. Okay. Is that along? Okay. Okay, good. Okay, I didn't. Okay, Osiris. I do not read any of this part on the left side because it is basically a major spoiler. I'm going to do this. Osiris. I'm going to do this. And Osiris is a very important character in this story too, and his way of storytelling is very important for the story. Because this story utilizes the way that Osiris is depicted. The Osiris, okay, one thing after another. Next, I should be googling Osiris on Wikipedia so that I can talk about him in a more extensive way. Okay. Osiris, from Wikipedia, the Free Encyclopedia. For other uses, see Osiris disambiguation, Osiris disredirectia. Osiris, from Egyptian Coptic, is the god of fertility, agriculture, the afterlife, the dead, resurrection, life, and vegetation in ancient Egyptian religion. He was classically depicted as a green-skinned deity with a pharaoh's beard, partially mummy, wrapped at the legs, wearing a distinctive atef crown. That's this thing on the top of his head, and holding a symbolic crook and flail. I think this is the left thing on the thing on his left hand from our perspective is the crook, and the other one is the flail. Yeah. Wait a second, can I Google this? This is a flail, and this is okay, there are two symbols of him. Okay. He was one of the first to be associated with the mummy ram. When his brother Set cut him up into pieces after killing him, Isis, his wife, found all the pieces and wrapped his body up, enabling him to return to life. Osiris was at times considered the eldest son of the earth god Geb and the sky goddess Nut, as well as being brother and husband of Isis, with Horus being considered his posthumously begotten son. First things first, this is quite confusing for some people. The Egyptian, basically all the religions in the old times had very difficult family relationships in between. It is way too complicated to talk about that. But the important part about this is the way it is being. This line is also not too unimportant for the actual story of the Secrets of Nicholas Flamel. It just depicts how would you as an author handle this translation. How are you going to treat this? The author in this novel made it quite interestingly. He says that at some points they are and at some points they aren't. It is a very weird answer, a very vague answer, which doesn't answer basically anything. But still, it is quite interesting that he caught this topic of Osiris having this background. He gave a character the Osiris name, the Osiris appearance, and some other parts of him, which we are not going to talk about again because, spoilers. And he did this in a very smart way to ensure that this to put it well into the story. Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing that I want to talk about, and yeah, I know this is not being the most orderly or the best order in which I'm doing this. It's still the first time that I'm basically reviewing a book, but still, Secrets of Nicholas Flamel, Swords. That's the next one that I want to talk about. The Swords of Power. Whoop. The 4 Swords of Power were used to create legates and ley lines, by the Archons, and to create shadow realms by the Elders. They date from the time before time, and are believed by many to have been fashioned by the ancient Earth Lords, although there is a debate. Isis, an Earth Lord, thinks Earth Lords were unlikely to have fashioned the blades as they worked with different materials. However, as with many Earth Lord artifacts, such as Kulkulan's mirror, the swords can be filled with blood. John Dee began to search out these swords after being told by Madatu that his destiny lies with the swords. We aren't going to check this, maybe this. There is Durendal, Roland, Sophie, okay, Joyce, okay. There are 4 swords, which are Durendal, Joyous, Excalibur, and Clarence. Those are the 4 swords that are the basic swords. There's another sword called Ether, which is a very interesting one, which we are not going to talk about here, because it's a very interesting topic that many people are... Yeah, we could be talking about it a little bit. Ether is a very important sword. We're going to leave it at that. You can see what it does, it's time, but we're not going to talk about why it's important for the story. The important things are the swords, and that they are quite interesting, because at least 3 of those swords I have known. We're going to Google every single one of them. This is not really a book review, but more so learning about a book, right? English. We're going to start off with Durandal. Also spelled Durandal, is the sword of Roland, a legendary paladin and partially historical officer of Charlemagne in French epic literature. It is also said to have belonged to young Charlemagne at one point, and passing through Saracen hands came to be owned by Roland. I'm also sorry for all the pronunciation mistakes that I am doing. This sword has been given various provenances. Several of the works of the Matter of France agree that it was forged by Wayland the Smith, who is commonly cited as a maker of weapons in chivalric romances. The name Durandal arguably begins with a French dur stem, meaning heart. Thus, Rita Legione argued it may break down into Durand plus Dale, renderable in English as strong scythe, or explained in more detail to mean a scimitar or scythe which holds up, resists, endures. Gerhard Rolfs suggests dur plus endar or strong flame. The name may also connote the meaning of enduring. Yeah, that's the story about Durandal, which is quite interesting. I never read the story about Durandal. This one, okay. This has the attribute R, yeah. Next there's Joyeuse. And we're going to go over here. Joyeuse. Joyeuse, meaning joyous, joyful, was a medieval legend, the sword wielded by Charlemagne as his personal weapon. Who is Charlemagne? Charlemagne, or Charles the Great, a member of the Carolingian dynasty, was king of the Franks from 768, king of the Lombards from 774, and the first Holy Roman Emperor from 800. Charlemagne succeeded in uniting the majority of Western and Central Europe. Okay, he used this sword as his personal weapon, which means joyous and joyful. A sword identified as joyous was used in French royal coronation ceremonies since the 13th century and is now kept at the Louvre Museum. This is its design. Some legends claim Joyeuse was forged to contain the lance of Longinus within its pommel. The pommel is this thing. I think you can't see it. This thing. Okay. As far as I know. Okay. The blade may have been smithed from the same materials as Roland's Durandal and Ogier's Katana. A children's book from the early 20th century tells that one priceless thing Charlemagne ever carried in his belt, and that was Joyeuse, the sword Giulus, which contained in a hilt of gold and gems the head of the lance that pierced our Saviour's side, and therewith he wrote a pilgrim's pledge against my faring to Jerusalem, or if that may not be, to remind me that our life is but a pilgrim's way, and our joy but a pilgrim's rest, and our hope a palm. Interesting. Okay. And there's another 2 swords, Excalibur and Clarent. I have heard about Excalibur, but what about Clarent? Okay, Excalibur, Clarent. Arthur's other weapons. Other weapons have been associated with Arthur, King Arthur. Welsh tradition also knew of a dagger named Carwenan and a spear named Rongeminiat. 1 second. 1 second. Whoop. And Rongeminiat. Sorry. Okay, a name that belonged to him. Carwenan and Rongeminiat. Carwenan, Little White Hills, first appears in Shulch and Olven, where Arthur uses it to slice the witch Oru in half. Rongeminiat, spear plus Striker Slayer, is also mentioned in Shulch, although only in passing. It appears as simply Ron Spear in Geoffrey's Historia. Geoffrey also names Arthur's shield as Prywin. In Shulch, however, Prywin, Fair Face, is the name of Arthur's ship, while his shield is named Wineptia, Face of Evening. Okay. In the alternative Morte Arthur, a Middle English poem, Clarent is the royal sword of peace meant for knighting and ceremonies, as opposed to battle, which Mordred stole and then used to kill Arthur at Camelot. The prose Lancelot of the Vulgate cycle mentions a sword called Sequence, also Sekake or Sur, as borrowed from Arthur by Lancelot. So Clarent is also connected to King Arthur, and it is a weapon which is symbolic for peace. And it is a symbolic sword. Interesting. The other sword that many people always know, and I also connected to King Arthur, is Excalibur. Excalibur is the legendary sword of King Arthur, sometimes also attributed with magical powers or associated with the rightful sovereignty of Britain. It was associated with the Arthurian legend very early on. Excalibur and the sword in the stone, the proof of Arthur's lineage, are in some versions said to be different, though in other incarnations they are either the same or at least share the name. In Welsh it is called Caledwich, in Cornish Calaswall, in modern Cornish Calaswall, in Breton Caledwch, and in Latin Caliburnus. Several similar swords and other weapons also appear in this and other legends. I find this interesting. There's this Excalibur, which sometimes is oftentimes associated with the Arthurian legend. Excalibur and the sword in the stone, the proof of Arthur's lineage, are in some versions said to be different, though in other incarnations they are either the same or at least share their name. Okay, interesting. So we have, let's go back to this place. We have Durendal, a durable and strong sword which is similar to a scimitar. This was held by Roland, and Joyous is from the Great Charles, is a sword which symbolizes joy, and it is an ornamental sword, if I understand this correctly, or a decorative sword which has a very high ornamental value, which was held by Charles the Great in the Roman Empire when he united the Roman Empire. Excalibur was a sword which is connected to King Arthur in the Arthurian legend and other parts of I didn't quite get this part. Legendary sword of King Arthur. It is the legendary sword. Hello, Darkness Wolf. I'm learning about swords right now. So Excalibur is the legendary sword of Arthur. However, Arthur also possessed other swords. For example, he also possessed Clarent. Okay, that is quite interesting to know. I find it interesting that the author in this book didn't attribute the Clarent to Nicholas Flamel. I just refer. Oh, not bad. I would love to play against you. I would just have to finish this part here. So Clarent was attributed to George Newman. However, why wasn't Excalibur attributed to... Okay, I get it. Okay. Well, okay. Anyways, also thanks, Darkness Wolf. I think this is the part that I always found interesting, the 4 Swords of Power. This was a really interesting part about this story, and I really enjoyed it when looking back to it. Also, the way that the author put it into the series and how many people were interacting with each other, that was a really interesting part about the series. You know what, I'm going to leave it at that. For 1, because I don't want to bore you even more, and for 2, because, yeah, that's all I can say about this novel. It was just a great time. And with that, I'm going to end it for now. Have a nice day and goodbye.